Howdy, y'all. It's Mr. Callen here, helping you out with more dividing sign fractions and mixed numbers. Now, we've already had notes on this. We've already started some homework. So as a matter of fact, let's take a look at your previous assignment where you were able to check your odd answers in the back of your textbook. Let's go ahead right now and check your even answers. Go ahead and hit pause and come back when you are ready. Now, I hope you've been circling, underlining, put a big old question mark next to anything that you see you made a mistake, but you don't know how to fix it. Of course, we can learn from our mistakes. Go ahead and once again hit pause. Sorry, I don't have the answers for 10B and C, but go ahead and check the rest of your even problems and come back when you are ready. So I'm going to return to those notes. They might look like this. My class had them sticking out of their notebook just a little bit and then folded them over. And then we talked about the whole idea, the main idea of fractions is that anytime you're dividing a fraction, you change it into multiplying by its multiplicative inverse. Most of us call that the reciprocal. Now we have an assignment for today. It looks a little bit like this. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in particularly on the front page. And actually, I'm going to zoom in even more so that we're looking at not even number 5, 6, 7. I'm going to do the following problem with you, where first it's asking us to simplify, actually do the division, and then to write a step-by-step set of instructions. Now, we've already discussed that anytime we have a mixed number, you know what though? Even before then, I want to know what the symbol is. So what is the opposite of a negative? That's a positive. So I'm just going to write that down just to keep that fresh in my mind. Then we know you can forget all about the numbers, the symbols now, and just focus on the fractions. Now, we've already talked about how with multiplying and dividing, you got to have improper fractions. So if I look at this, four wholes, 10 slices each, 4 sets of 10 would be 40 slices. Oh, but don't forget, we got 9 extra slices already. So 4 and 9/10 can be rewritten as 49/10. Let's do the same thing. 3 wholes, 6 slices each. Well, 3 sets of 6 is 18 plus the 3, 21. Now we get into our little focus on dividing fractions. Anytime you divide a fraction, you multiply by its reciprocal. Now, it's really important that you do not flip the first fraction. We are only changing it to multiplying by the reciprocal of the second. And the reciprocal of any number, any fraction, you simply flip it over, keeping the sign, but I already told you to ignore the sign. So the reciprocal of 21/6 will be 6 over 21. Keep the 49/10. Now at this point, you can get a little creative. It is totally up to you whether you reduce at the beginning or the end. My students in general have found reducing at the beginning to save you some time. So for instance, 10 and 6. I'm thinking in my head, I can reduce both of those by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 10 divided by 2 is 5. I think that'll save me a little time. You already can see that the numbers are getting a little smaller. Now let's look at 49 and 21. Does anything go into both other than 1? Oh, how about 7? Because 21 reduced by 7 is 3, and 49 reduced by 7 is 7. Now, look at how much time that has saved us. Instead of having to multiply 49 times 21 and 10 times 6 and then reducing it, hey, I can handle this pretty easily. Multiplying straight horizontally, 7 times 3 in the numerator leaves us with 21. 5 times 3 in the denominator. Oh, we could have reduced even further by that 3, huh? That's all right. 5 times 3 is 15. Now let's go ahead and reduce now by 3 and make that 7/5. Now 7/5 is a good answer. It's not a great answer. Really, in simplest form, it makes a lot more sense to say we go up or down 1 whole foot and then 2/5 of a foot. Now let's take that and put that into words. What is it that we just did? Well, actually, that is not my first step. My first step, if you recall, was going back to the symbol. So the very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to write decide if it's positive or negative. because that doesn't take any computation. When it comes to multiplying, when it comes to dividing, it's all about opposites. The opposite of a positive is a negative. In this case, the opposite of a negative was a positive. Then I went to my second step, which is change mixed numbers, rewrite mixed numbers as improper fractions. Now it's important here to note, if it's already a fraction, then you don't have to change it. If it's a proper fraction, leave it be. But we cannot multiply or divide whole numbers or mixed numbers. All right, step number 3 was that funky multiplicative inverse. I'm going to write it as reciprocal. You may write it as multiplicative. Change to multiplying by reciprocal. Now, folks, let me be honest. That's Mr. Callan's words. If that's not helpful to you, write it in your own words. Maybe you want to say keep, change, flip. Maybe you want to say only flip the second fraction. This is your notes. Make it useful to you. But there is no dividing in the division of fractions. We multiply it by its reciprocal. Last but not least, multiply the two fractions. And you know what? Just for kicks, I'm going to add a 5th step. Some people wouldn't argue this is a step, or maybe they would combine 4 and 5, but I always want simplest form. So folks, every day you're doing math homework, you should pause and ask yourself, hey, can I write a step-by-step set of directions to complete any problem on my homework? Now, when it comes to dividing, you can now look at these steps. You can do any division problem. Okay, first, is it going to be positive or negative? Okay, check. Okay, next, do I have any mixed numbers? Yep. Let's rewrite anything as improper fractions. Notice you do that before you change it into multiplying by the reciprocal. Remember, only flip the second number. Okay, now I multiply. I know how to do that. You can cross cancel. Maybe somebody wants to write here, cross cancel if possible. Cross cancel if possible, to save yourself some time and energy. But some people prefer to reduce at the end, just like we did here in dividing by 3/3. And then, of course, once I get down, I ask myself, is it simplest form? 21/15 was not, but 7/5 is, and frankly, 1 2/5 is a better way of writing 7/5. Now, perhaps that will help you with numbers 5, 6, and 7. I surely hope it helps you with other things. All you are going to do, especially in this top part, maybe you want to work it out first and then write the step-by-step. Now, some people might want to write the step-by-step instructions first and then work it out. Totally up to you and your comfort level. But look down at what we did with dividing and ask yourself, okay, what's the first step of multiplying fractions or mixed numbers? What's the second step? Okay, what do I do next? And what do I do next? I would always challenge my students, if you cannot explain it step by step, then pause, look back at other problems. How are these problems similar? How are they different? Perhaps you remember doing this in class with your teacher, or maybe even a previous video, I don't remember. But ask yourself, how are these problems similar? Same numbers, same signs. How are they different? One's division, one's multiplication. So what does that do? Well, one, we're going to have both need improper fractions, but only one of these will change to the reciprocal, and you probably already know what that means. Meanwhile, don't forget, if I change this to an addition symbol, I would argue that there's many more differences than similarities. Sure, we're always going to look for simplest form. But other than that, one of these problems needs common denominators, the other does not. One of these problems must be changed to improper fractions. The other, you can do improper, but we usually just keep it as mixed numbers. So every time you're doing mathematics, how are the problems similar? How are they different? And can you summarize or write like a step-by-step process? That's all I have, folks. So head on to the rest of your homework. Let us know if you have any questions and do well.